Most of us are raised with a simple set of rules. Keep the peace, share your toys, and never make a scene. We nod when we actually want to say no, and we smile at jokes that aren't even funny. This constant accommodation feels like moral goodness. In reality, it functions more like a social shield, a way to manage the internal anxiety of being perceived as difficult or dislikable. But when your default is always yes, it creates a confusing dynamic. You begin to wonder if the people in your life are actually drawn to you, or if they are simply drawn to the convenience of your silence. To find out which it is, I started a radical experiment. 7 days of killing the nice guy persona. I wouldn't become a jerk, but I would stop apologizing for having my own needs. I realized that treating every compromise as a virtue was actually a form of cowardice. I was trading my self-respect for a shallow sense of security. Day 1 started on a Monday morning. The usual routine of picking up coffee for the entire office, a $50 a week attempt to buy approval, was the first thing to go. I walked into the office empty-handed. The reaction from my coworker Sarah was immediate. There was no hello, just a cold stare at my hands. When I told her I simply didn't feel like carrying it today, the silence was heavy. She didn't miss my company, she missed the delivery. This illustrates the vending machine dynamic. Notice the one-way transfer of resources. When you train people to see you as a source of transactional utility, they stop viewing you as a person and start viewing you as a service. By Tuesday, the tension hit my personal life. A friend called asking for a ride to the gym in the middle of my workday. When I gave a firm no, he didn't check in later to see how I was doing. Instead, he went to social media to post about fake friends. The most effective response is a simple, firm refusal. You don't need to offer a list of excuses or promise to make it up to them later. A boundary doesn't require a negotiation. When a relationship is built entirely on your willingness to accommodate, it will fracture the moment you prioritize your own time. Breaking a lifelong habit of submission is physically exhausting. By Wednesday, my jaw was tight, and I felt a constant sense of dread. Standing up for yourself for the first time feels less like a victory and more like a crisis. This line graph shows why it's so hard. When you break your long-standing social contract of compliance, your nervous system interprets the social friction as a physical threat, spiking straight into the red zone of fight or flight. During a family dinner, my mother made her usual passive-aggressive comments about my career. When I asked her to stop because it was hurtful, the reaction was immediate. Tears and a demand from my father that I apologize for attacking her. Dealing with passive aggression requires you to call out the behavior directly, state how it feels, ask for it to stop, and then, this is the hardest part, simply sit with the uncomfortable silence that follows. On Thursday, my boss tried to dump an extra 4 hours of work on my desk at 4 p.m. When I told him I couldn't finish it by the morning, he didn't argue the facts. He questioned my reliability, using a professional threat to try and force me back into my nice box. Whether it's a parent's tears or a manager's veiled threat, the effect is the same. The pressure is being applied to restore the old status quo. It's a mechanism designed to protect a peace that only exists because you are the one carrying the burden. On Friday, I met some acquaintances at a bar. One guy started his usual routine of making me the target of his jokes. Instead of laughing along to keep the group comfortable, I looked at him and asked why he felt the need to do that every time we met. The group went silent. He got angry, calling me sensitive. To a bully, a basic boundary feels like an unprovoked attack because it disrupts their sense of dominance. Saturday was a day of total isolation. Staring at 17 missed calls from people who were either angry or checking in made me realize that my entire social circle was built on a version of me that didn't actually exist. Stripping away the nice persona leaves you alone, but it also leaves you clean. You finally see who was there for you and who was just there for the favors. On Sunday, the experiment ended with a surprise. Sarah from work apologized for treating me like a vending machine. My father texted to say that while they didn't like how I said it, they realized we needed to talk more openly. Dropping the act did more than just push away the users. It gave the people who actually cared a chance to see me as a human being with limits. I was finally teaching people how I wanted to be treated. This week taught me the psychological gap between being nice and kind. Niceness is a mask branching from a core of fear of rejection and conflict. Kindness, however, is a choice coming from strength and honesty. You can be kind while saying no. Try it tomorrow, just for one day. Say no to one thing you don't want to do, and don't apologize for it. Watch what happens to the people around you. Standing up for yourself doesn't end the world. It only ends the version of your life that wasn't yours to begin with. If you stopped being nice today, who would still be there tomorrow?